All right, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you that the delay will be worth it because our guest here has got a lot to say. He's got a lot to get off his chest. We haven't had him in a while, but that's why it makes it even more worth it. And you've seen him in places most recently like Blackheart Wrestling, GTM this summer, and he is always a part of things here for our friends over at Nonstop Action Wrestling. He is the definition of nonstop, never stop. You're going to find out here why and more. So, without further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, pro wrestling star and high flyer extraordinaire. His name is Supersonic Sammy Blue, my friend. Long
Hey,
time no see.
I know, right? It's been a minute since I've been here. It's lovely to be back on there.
Absolutely. Looking forward to having you here. A lot to get into. As always, we march on to a nuclear winter. And it's funny, Supersonic Sammy Blue, because literally I'd say about 48 to 72 hours ago at this time, I was in shorts and a t-shirt. Now I'm getting ready for winter and in nonstop action wrestling in Sweden at the Be Strong Performance Center. We are also getting ready for winter as well. And we know that you are going to be a big part of things. So I have to ask you because obviously for those that are watching and listening to this on Sportswire Radio, I'm sure you're aware of that last month, our chairman of Nonstop Action Wrestling, Mr. Joshua Snow, had announced that we are going to crown a champion for the Northern Division. Obviously, when we think of the Northern Division here in Europe and the UK, that includes places, obviously, not just England, but Ireland and Scotland and everywhere else in between. So wanted to get Mr. Supersonic Sammy Blue your thoughts on Joshua Snow, our chairman of Nonstop Action Wrestling, creating this new championship, the Northern Division title.
Well, he's really outdone himself, hasn't he? We've got this world-class championship that Tommy Dillon has defended so honourably, and how we're going to top that? How we're going to top that? How about another championship in NSAW, a Northern Division championship? Everything that a proud Englishman like myself can be, well, proud of. I just hit the nail on the head. Hopefully, with the Yorkshire Rose being white and then the flag being blue, I really want that championship strap to be blue. I think it would fit my whole theme going on. I think it would be a good addition to
Well,
the non-stop action wrestling
I'll tell
championship
you this.
scene.
I'll tell you this much. It would certainly be a more colorful championship, right? I mean, that would always kind of, I think, stand out most. You are probably the most colorful person, literally and figuratively, when it comes to nonstop action wrestling. I mean, you certainly make some great points, and we've obviously heard some other wrestlers, Chris Murphy. I'm sure we'll get into him in a few minutes. Callum Jakester, you know the lawman Kyle Kennedy's going to come up, and but certainly some of those wrestlers, most recently, they've given their thoughts on that championship. And for your career here, Supersonic Sammy Blue, and I'll get to the comments. I've got a bunch in a second, but I obviously feel like that this has been a big year for you. We've had you on a couple different times. We spoke about some different things. You've been in some other promotions, and I kind of think that this would be in a lot of ways a big championship for you, a big feather in your cap, and really kind of be a big springboard for you, I think, to be a really, really big 2023 for you. I mean, give me your thoughts on that.
Um, it would really define my career at this point. Like, I haven't been back in the game too long, but I feel like I've made a good impact, especially in non-stop action wrestling. And winning this Northern Division Championship would just make my 2023 even bigger. And hopefully, if I won that championship, I could defend it not only in NSAW, but in lots of other companies as well. I want to travel around the UK and proudly display this Northern Division Championship. And another thing that's very important to me is being the first queer champion in NSAW, first champion who is of the LGBTQ community. And it's very important to me that the people who watch the shows, the asylums, the lockdowns, the All Hallows Eves, as someone on their screen that they can relate to and go, you know, That's me. Maybe not with the blue hair, because that takes a while.
Yeah,
But
I got to be honest. I mean, certainly those are some definitely valid points when it comes to some of the other things you said, but I don't know how many wrestlers, regardless of that, are going to have blue hair. So you certainly would be a unique champion for it when it comes to that. But I mean, I did want to ask, and obviously touching on some of those things there for a second, but do you feel that you would have a more of a personal responsibility or maybe a motivation to win that title because of some of those things that you talked about when it comes to obviously your background and obviously some of those things like the LGBT community and stuff like that? Do you feel maybe more of a motivation to win that championship than some others that might want to enter?
almost definitely, I feel like I have to set the standard uh, in terms of the Northern Division Championship and being like I'm the bisexual blue boy. I mean, it says what I am on the tin. This is who I am. This is what I want to put out there. And the best way I can spread the message of being a proud queer wrestler in this community is winning that championship and defending it against whoever, wherever, whenever.
Well, we'll certainly find out here. I should get to some comments because, well, obviously people want to talk to you. Andrew Hanley, of course, our very good friend, says, "Good evening. I hope that he is doing well." I do want to get to Pride. Pride certainly has his own things that I think are pretty much similar to you in the community for different reasons. But he says, would not be disinterested in the Pride of the Northern Division Championship. Might have to enter discussions. Although I do know one thing, Pride didn't want any part of Disciple. If you were watching JT Ministries this past weekend sold out show because Pride certainly tried to get in there, I think, with Disciple, but Disciple right now, I don't think anybody wants a part of him. Uncle Ralph, of course, from Top Tier and CCW, which of course obviously does some work with Nonstop Action Wrestling, is with us. He says, "Good evening, gentlemen," and also want to give a shout out to somebody that's going to come on here very soon, I believe, possibly next week, and that is, of course, that would be Mr. Dan Roberts in the Cult of Killjoy, and he says, "Hello, Bluey. Just a brief reminder, you're good, very good, and as a fellow member of Team Winter, I respect you. But soon Ensaw Gold will be belong to the Cult, and I very much want the first to be the Northern Division Championship, even if I have to kick your head off." Before I get to some comments from Chris Murphy, give me your thoughts on that.
Dan, the cult man.
Yes.
Nice to see you there, Dan. Obviously, your game is, get in my head, say all these mean things, and maybe that'll cause me to lose whatever match we may have in the future. To be fair, I recall having a tag team match with you at Blackheart Wrestling, and oh, you got your ass kicked. So I'd like to think that I'd be able to do it under the NSAW roof whenever you feel like having a one-on-one matchup, Mr. Cult.
Is that fighting words for Mr. Cult of Killjoy Dan Robertson, or is that maybe just a playful shot there? What do you say?
A little bit of both. I mean, if Daddy Killjoy lets you, if he approves of you facing me in a one-on-one match, you know what? I'll never back down from a challenge. I'm always up for any sort of match scenario you want me to have. Let's have an extreme Lego death match, Dan Robertson. I think that'll be very fun, and maybe you can play with the little blocks whilst I, suplex you onto them.
Well, Mr. Robertson would like a response. So before I get to Chris Murphy and some others, he would like to have his say. And he says, that tag match, who was pinned in that match again? Your response.
Oh, well, yeah. You've got a point, Dan. You've got a point. Yes, I was the one who was pinned. But who's the one who... How many German suplexes did you take? How many lariats did you get hit with in that match? And I was on the apron, a little bit cringing because you just took such a beating. Oof.
Well, you're giving it out tonight, Supersonic, Sammy Blue. Usually you let everybody else kind of take the shots at you, but you're on the offense tonight here. I guess it is going to be a nuclear winter here after all.
I've got my eyes set on that Northern Division Championship, and Killjoy or Dan Robertson or whoever, if you want to try and get in my way, you can try, but I think that I'm on a upwards rise since I've had that stuff with Remus. I'm trying to leave that behind me, and I'm trying to set my eyes into the future. And my future, I think, is draped in Northern Division Gold.
Well, we'll certainly find out here. And of course, Mr. Robertson says name, time, and place blueberry. I'm game. I have to ask a side point. Do you like blueberries? Do you eat blueberries? I mean, since he kind of mentioned blueberries, wanted to just throw that out there for fun.
I'm afraid I'll turn into that girl who ate blueberries in Willy Wonka, where
Okay,
I turn into a massive
okay.
circle. I don't want that. I like my
Yeah,
body the way it is.
I'm not a big blueberry person myself. Like once in a blue moon, I may have a blueberry bagel, but we're talking once a year. I mean, but let me ask you a question before I get to a few more comments, because you've continually mentioned here the Northern Division Championship, and you kind of touched upon it again. But I did want to ask you, what would it mean to you to be the Northern Division champion?
I think it would mean a lot to me personally, and for various reasons. As I've mentioned, there's obviously I want to be the first queer champion in NSAW. I think it's very important to me to set that standard and represent my community. But it would also mean a lot to me in terms of my personal life. My I'm just going to get into it. My dad passed away 2.5 years ago.
I'm sorry
Uh,
to hear.
Thank you. And he was such a lovely soul, and he fought every day to live and to be happy because for one, he was disabled and he just had health problem after health problem, but he got through it, and he got through it smiling, and he was the most positive person. And ever since he passed, I've been trying to do the same and be as positive as I can and fight through anything. And I think winning this Northern Division Championship would be like fulfilling my dad's memory. And it's a weird way to say it, but I want to make him proud, and I think this would be the best way.
Well, we'll certainly find out. And I did want to ask you another follow-up question on the Northern Division Championship, and specifically you in being a queer champion. And let me ask you, why do you think that there hasn't been maybe as many champions that may identify, let's say, with LGBTQ? And also, if you were to win this championship, let's say, as a follow-up to that as well, do you think that would be a springboard maybe for others or other companies? I mean, you mind if I ask you those questions and your thoughts?
Oh no, go for it. There are queer champions in wrestling. Anthony Bowens of the Acclaimed, one half of the AEW Tag Team
Yep.
Champions. He is
Hmm.
an openly gay man. And there's
Hmm.
Effie, who wrestles for GCW. I don't really know a lot about them, but I know they do some ridiculous stuff, which is,
Yep.
I've seen the clips, it's quite fun. In
Yep.
terms of locally, there's myself, I know there's Pride, and probably half the NSAW roster is either bi, pan, or just fully like queer. And
Hmm.
it's interesting to have conversations with the members of the roster who are of that community and their journeys and how they got here. It may not be exactly in the forefront like it is for people like me or people like Pride, for example, but it is very much a part of them too. And I want to hopefully lead the non-stop action wrestling locker room, both straight, gay, lesbian, whoever you are, you're welcome here at NSAW, and you can succeed.
All right, well that's a pretty good answer, and obviously we'll certainly see what happens. And certainly, there is no question that you are going to have some competition, and certainly we'll certainly find out. And let me get to a bunch of comments because I'm a little behind. First, I'd like to say, Sammy boy, I hope you're ready for a fight. You'll have no chance in winning. He also goes on, and Chris Murphy, who you saw a couple of weeks ago, we used him actually as the announcement to bring you on. So obviously, that was a good way to do that. He says, championship shouldn't be on your mind, Sammy. What should be on your mind is making out our match in one piece. And I think he meant to say PIECE. So peace.
Yeah.
ACE might want to have different definitions, but since we see Chris Murphy with us, and Chris is certainly a big man, he made a lot of claims as well. Also about the Northern Division Championship, Mr. Sammy, wanted to get your thoughts on some of the things you just heard now from Chris Murphy.
Well, Chris, I think if you see my profile picture that reads peace, love, and pouting, you love that I know peace. I love peace. It's great. Like hip 70s vibes, like love that stuff. In terms of wrestling, well, I know there's the tournament. I would much like to be in that tournament. And I get the same vibe from you, Chris. So, Mr. Chairman Joshua Snow, this is a direct message to you. Please, 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 pretty please, with cherry on top, put me and Chris Murphy in the same bracket of the tournament. I think we should both end this match against each other. So don't put us against each other right away. I'll take on someone in the first round. He'll take on someone in the first round. Then we can meet to decide who goes on to Nuclear Winter to face off for that Northern Division Championship. Because unlike Chris Murphy, I want to earn my opportunities. I don't think I deserve them because of some arrogant attitude. I think he should be apologising for the way he was treating a lot of the NSL wrestlers the other week on the interview and just saying, "Oh, I'm the best." Or
well, he was very confident. I even asked him. I said, "Are you sure about being this confident?" And he seemed extremely confident. He seemed not phased. He seemed not worried. I mean, to be fair, looking at his size, looking at his physique, I mean, Chris Murphy certainly is a big man, one of the bigger men on the roster here at Nonstop Action Wrestling. But I mean, I have to ask you then, Mr. Supersonic Sammy Blue. I mean, why not just go straight for the jugular and go one-on-one with Chris Murphy? Why be in the same bracket? Why not just want him in the first round just to say, you know what? Let's settle the score here. I mean, clearly, he has you in his sights. He has you in his crosshairs. I mean, why that kind of decision that you'd like for management to consider?
Because I want to end this match, and I think Chris should have to earn it too. Because by his interview the other week, he's never heard of the Kendrick Lamar song "Humble." Because if he did, it would be a lot less arrogant. He needs to earn his spot in this tournament. He needs to prove himself in that first round. As far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, guys. I mean, it's live, so I may screw up here. But I don't think Chris Murphy has won a match in NSAW. Whereas, I won quite a few. And then he parades around thinking it's the business. Like he deserves the spot. There's a reason you're number 2 in the Rumble now. First of all, because, I mean, you put your foot in it, you've made your bed, now you lie in it. And second of all, because maybe we don't want someone like you, someone who's arrogant, very, very arrogant, making it to the end and possibly becoming our world-class champion. Because what kind of precedent does that set? If Chris Murphy, this arrogant guy who thinks he's the business, is our champion, what's that say for the rest of the roster? Are they just going to do what they want? I don't think so. And that's not what I want for this company.
I would remind you on 2 things, though, about Chris Murphy, and not to kind of get in the middle of this here, as we're on Sportswire Radio with pro wrestling star here, Supersonic Sammy Blue. If you're on Facebook, please give him a like on his page, and also follow him on Instagram at Supersonic Sammy Blue, where you can also find out more information also on buying some merchandise from Supersonic Sammy Blue. He has a t-shirt on his Pro Wrestling Tees page. We'll also plug that later on. But I mean, Chris Murphy is still, actually, for what it's worth, he's still a current champion in another promotion. He's actually holding some gold. And on top of that, you might make a fair point on the fact that he hasn't yet won a match in Nonstop Action Wrestling. But I would also remind you that Disciple had not won a match in GT Ministries before Gareth Angel had granted him his championship match, and we don't know if Gareth Angel's ever going to come back in GT Ministries. And I watched the show and Sold Out with Disciple on, and he pretty much ran through the entire roster. So I would make a point. Are you poking the bear here with Chris Murphy and saying some of those things? Or maybe you're onto something. You tell me.
Maybe it's a bit of both because maybe I want to poke the bear, maybe I want to rile him up. So when we get to that matchup, maybe he's a bit too aggressive and maybe makes a few mistakes. But also, maybe I'm just pointing out the truth of Chris Murphy here in NSAW. Now, I won't speak on his accomplishments elsewhere. I'm sure he's an acclaimed champion. But here in NSAW, we're on about the Northern Division Championship here. Something that belongs to NSAW. Something that will obviously be represented in other companies once it is won by someone. Or at least that's what I want to do with it. But it's home, it's origin, non-stop action wrestling. Now, if you want to walk into my house and tell me how good you are, I don't think you should get given opportunity after opportunity. And when you're on about Disciple winning the GTM championship, and he hasn't won a match in GTM until that point, I say the people who've beat him, give them a shot at the championship. Just my humble opinion.
Well, I mean, certainly there is a little bit of that's going to possibly happen there in GT Ministries, but I'll speak of GT Ministries certainly another time. We were just kind to make that comparison there, but I would also add that the competition that Disciple had faced in GT Ministries was certainly main event caliber, and certainly some of those things there that had happened, you could say could have went one way or another, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt there. Connor Cage is in the house. Connor says hello. Obviously, want to make sure we give Connor a shout out. Of course, Mr. Sportswire, the Lawman, Kyle Kennedy. I'll spend a few minutes on him in a little while as well. He says you, so obviously I think you pretty much know how he feels about you. Also have here Danny Los. He says big lad blue. That's a good one. That's a good one there, actually. I hadn't definitely thought about that as a way to say things. He is definitely proud, Sammy. Yeah, that's a good one, right? You definitely do seem proud. Also want to give a shout out to Champ Rogers, the new Champ Rogers. Obviously, you and him have certainly a relationship that goes quite a bit here on Sportswire. He says, no one deserves to go all the way and hold the Northern Division Championship more than my blue boy. I may be called champ, but you're the true champion, my friend. And I got to ask you, what do you think about the new look from Champ Rogers?
I mean, I was the one who shaved his head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, fun Friday night with Champ. He goes, you know what, Sammy, before the show, I want you to shave my head. I want to look like Taz for this Halloween show. And I'm like, you know what, I've got my cowboy outfit. I'll do you some justice. I got the shaver out. I shaved his head. And we watched, what did we watch? Too Hot to Handle. It was lovely. It's a dating show.
Okay.
Just a casual boys' night in.
Okay, well, I certainly, I guess, congratulate Champ Rogers. It does seem like he has taken on more of a leadership presence in nonstop action wrestling. So certainly, he made some points with us with Chris Murphy, as you pointed out. He is number 2 in our entry tournament there for nonstop action wrestling. And let me get to Pride. Pride also says there's a lot of wrestlers who still don't feel as safe coming out, sadly, on the fear it would affect their bookings or still be physically dangerous to them. Hence why Pride thinks it's important for the very representative queers being so very visible. Ideally holding gold so they cannot be as easily shunned. I think kind of similar what you had said a little while ago. Also, representation is a huge must within the community and needs to be more publicized within wrestling. So those are some fair points there. I know I'm way behind in comments, so I'm gonna go shotgun, as they say here in American football. Kind of go shotgun in what they call the 2-minute warning. Young Horace, who's with us, who I owe Young Horace an appearance on Sportswire, says, "You owe me a rematch. I can be sure that we will meet in the Northern Division tournament. You're an inspiring young lad, but sorry to burst your bubble. Our next meeting won't end in a no contest, but with me raising the Northern Division title there, Sammy. You have a thought or two on Young Horace before I go to some more comments and get some responses from Chris Murphy?
I mean, young Horace is a spectacular competitor. I got the chance at Blackout, obviously, in the aforementioned match with him to be in the ring. He's absolutely a phenomenal talent. And, our match ended in a no contest due to some strange individuals. But I hope that we can get our rematch and it will be an honorable one.
Well, I think you guys are two of the more honorable wrestlers, some may say, when it comes to professional wrestling, and at least locally in our scene. So there is a very, very strong possibility that maybe that could be a match that could be under those conditions. Time will certainly tell. But let me get to some more comments. Young Horace also follows up here. Here's a third fact about Chris Murphy, Tom. I eliminated him in the battle royal. We spoke about that here in the past. Starting to get tired of you bigging up a man who can't get the job done like Murphy and ignoring the actual threats going into this tournament. Well, we'll certainly find out some of those things. Before I get to Chris Murphy, I will also say here, Chris Murphy, wrestler so close yet so far. So basically, Young Horace is telling us that Chris Murphy is kind of like our modern day Lex Luger. Maybe, maybe not, but I'm going to plead the fifth on that. Champ Rogers also says, Sammy shaved my head but wouldn't let me shave his legs. Now that caused some tag team turmoil, let me tell you. I'm going to plead the fifth on that for sure, because that's only stuff between you guys. But I do want to bring up Chris Murphy because he has a response that you may not want to laugh about. He says here, that shows that the best sits on the top of Enso, where I belong. And if I need to beat someone else so easily to get to you, fine by me. And the fact that I haven't won in 2 matches where both times I was screwed out of it by cheating proves people need to cheat to beat the best. Would you like to respond to that there?
I mean, for someone who claims to sit at the top of NSAW, you haven't got the best win-loss record. And as far as the cheating goes, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. This is a live show, but
yes, it is.
I have a feeling that there wasn't as much cheating as you think there was involved in those matches. And especially with a battle royal. It's a battle royal. You didn't even get pinned. You got through over the top rope. I mean, how do you cheat at throwing someone over the top rope?
Well, I mean, there can be times in a battle royal where, let's say, somebody comes out and they're not a part of it, or somebody comes in from under the apron, or somebody comes from the crowd. I mean, so there can be that. And again, not to take too many sides here, but he's only had 2 matches here. He's only had 2. If he would have had 7 or 8, I would say there could be a point to that. So, I mean, that's just one side of the coin to look at it. I want to give a shout out here to our friend Shelby Pocock, otherwise known as Shelby Sinar. She says, Sammy, where's the coat? I saw Sammy, obviously, you and her obviously go back and forth in Blackheart Wrestling. And Shelby, we also saw last weekend here that passed when it came to GT Ministries Sold Out show. So I saw her at the end. At the end of the show, she kind of popped on my screen there for the stream. And, of course, also we have here Dan Robertson says, Little Egypt feeling cranky. Did you get compared to Little Egypt by anybody else? That's a new one there when it comes to a reference there from you. So I guess...
I think he's talking about Horus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say. I guess that might ring a bell to the what was it? The Bengals walk like an Egyptian. So maybe that's what Young Horace, according to Dan Robertson, might be coming out to. But we do play music on Sportswire Radio, so I have a little bit of a DJ background. So we do we do play music on Sportswire. So I do wanted to point that out, which you can of course catch 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on sportnarium.com/player. And we play pretty much everything from today, yesterday, and in between. So if you like music, definitely give us a listen anytime. And Chris Murphy also says, don't forget, Young Horace, Didn't I eliminate most of the roster? He said roaster, but I think roster before you cheated. I mean, Chris, we do like you on Sportswire, but roaster and peace and roaster and roster, we're getting a little bit confused on the spelling side of it. But hey, that's okay. And Dan Robertson also says, "Who's Chris Murphy again? Top of Ensaw? Boy, I think Chris Murphy he's the one that's getting shots taken at him tonight. Shots are definitely being fired, and he's the one that's definitely in the crossfire here on Sportswire Radio. So let me get to Chris Murphy because Chris Murphy has responded. He says he pulled the rope down, he cheated, he couldn't throw me over, and JPR had to do a low blow. Boy." And he says, roster, very sorry, spell check. All right, so we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt. We'll definitely bring you back on here. And Champ Rogers says, also, hashtag saving best buds. I do actually have something to ask. Let's assume you win the Northern Division Championship. Who specifically would you want to face in a title defense? That's a great question. Who would you like to face?
See, there's plenty of talent in NSAW who I have faced and I'd like to face again. I think Connor Cage is definitely someone who I think deserves some sort of championship opportunity. I know he came short in his triple threat match at All Hallows Eve, but I definitely think at some point in his future he is going to be some sort of champion, whether it be in non-stop action wrestling or anywhere else. Champ, I love you, buddy. We have a friendly shaving competition for the Northern Division Championship. Who can shave the most hair off their body? I'm going to win. In terms of people I haven't faced, let me have a think. There's a young lad who likes to wear 2 t-shirts in the ring and down at UKW, and his name is Momentum. Now, I have seen Momentum compete, and he is quick and he hits hard. And I like to think that I am quick and I hit hard. So who can be quicker and who can hit harder? That's what I want to find out. And also, Mo, whilst I'm at it, why do you wear 2 t-shirts? I mean, it seems so unnecessary. Aren't you really warm?
I mean, 2 t-shirts, that's definitely different. I mean, I remember there was a phase when I was in school where, speaking about music, where you would have somebody wear a t-shirt over a sweater. So everybody that was like in a rock band or in a metal band, there was a phase that everybody, for whatever reason, would wear a sweater, and underneath you'd wear a t-shirt. But I haven't heard 2 t-shirts there before, Sammy. I mean, help me figure out this one.
Well, as far as I've seen him one time, and like wrestle in the ring, and he took his t-shirt off and there was just another t-shirt, and I was quite gobsmacked. I didn't expect it, because you just expect, like, obviously to have nothing under there, and then there was just another t-shirt. It's like a little surprise.
Yeah, I mean, listen, t-shirts, that's the whole point, right? You have a t-shirt and you would have your body only that would show. I mean, so I guess that's certainly a different and unique look. Like I said, the only other time I could think of an instance where you'd have a t-shirt or maybe something under it would be like, again, the whole rock phase back in the early 2000s, where most of the new metal bands, it was a thing, people would wear, like in the video, they would wear, again, the t-shirt, and then they would wear a sweater. In fact, I even did it for a brief period in high school. I would wear the t-shirt and the sweater, but that's ages ago. But we're not in that phase. And also, we have here, Young Horace says, Dan is shorter than me and not accustomed to running from his matches. And also, roster is spelled roaster in Irish. I didn't know that. I guess I stand corrected there. So I guess I apologize there to Chris Murphy, and I certainly I should be one giving the spell check. But a friend here says hashtag Blue Boy Champion Sammy baby Robertson smells, Murphy smells, Horace smells, Sammy for the win, with the woo and the blue hearts. Also have here Connor Cage says, getting a little closer with each setback, but I would love to have that second match with you. And Callum Ajaxer, of course, who Callum is certainly a no stranger to us. He's been with us a couple times. Says, I'm late to this, but whatever's been said, shut up, Blue Boy. So first things first, I want to get back to Connor Cage because Connor had said something interesting. He says, Would you like to have a second match with Connor Cage? Could that be, I don't know, Northern Division Finals? Could that be a Northern Division title match down the road? I mean, you and Connor Cage, would be a banger. That would be one of the matches that could be 5-star quality. You know it, I know it, and the world watching and listening here on Sportswire Radio would know it. So, what do you say?
I would definitely wrestle Connor again. Connor is one of the most humble guys I know,
Very
and
humble. Yes, we've had him on here. He's very much, he lets his actions do the talking.
he definitely does. And believe me, he has, when he does speak, when he has some words to say, boy, you better listen because they're either hilarious, very very surprising or shocking, or it's just the honest truth. And this guy is such a stand-up guy, and anywhere he gets in wrestling, I think he'll deserve it because he is a great competitor in that ring.
Absolutely, no question about it. A lot of respect for what he's done here this past year, and that's why they've called him the Golden Boy here in many cases. So obviously, he's definitely earned that distinction. He's earned that respect, and I also want to make sure if you like what you hear from Nonstop Action Wrestling, please give a follow to our friends over at Nonstop Action Wrestling at NSOR Wrestling UK, Nonstop Action Wrestling on Facebook and YouTube, where you can watch match content of the aforementioned Mr. Supersonic Sammy Blue. Also Twitter as well, NSAW_Wrestling UK, I believe it is. And so please make sure you support Nonstop Action Wrestling because they have an important show coming up December the 17th, which is crazy as it sounds. Supersonic Sammy Blue is just about 5 or so weeks away. We're talking about basically 32 days, so we're about 4.5 weeks. So time is definitely flying. I remember it was yesterday. We were talking about basically you in the summer for the first time, and April,
Mm.
May, and now we're in almost December. And we were talking about Road to Gold, and now we're talking about Northern Division Championships here. So time definitely flies when you're having fun. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. I want to give a shout out to one of our good friends, also from CCW, BMD. And BMD was with me on my Saturday night show, which was Sunday morning in the UK with my friends over at Wrestling Championship Entertainment. And BMD, we owe an appearance to Sportswire Radio. Very soon we'll make that happen, and always love what BMD is doing. And he also had a birthday not too long ago, so I want to make sure we acknowledge BMD. So thank you, BMD, for all that you do for us and all that you do for our friends over at Colory Championship Wrestling. And I also did want to bring up Kyle Kennedy again, the lawman, Mr. Sportswire, because I saw it was posted on his YouTube page, which, of course, everybody can give a follow and like and subscribe to. That is on the Mr. Sportswire Kyle Kennedy's page, that you and him had a match that I guess was unearthed. And for those that are watching and listening, set the tables for your thoughts on it, as I'm sure that Mr. Sportswire, the lawman, will be back before Nuclear Winter and give his thoughts on it.
Well, Mr. Ballman, he's an aggressive one, isn't he? One thing you never do in wrestling is that you put your hands on the referee, and that is exactly what he did in that match. I think I said something that really got under his skin. Maybe that he would never be Remus Kane, and he really couldn't deal with that. He started laying in on me. He started laying in on the referee, and it took Tommy Dillon and Pride to come and sort him out and basically get him away from me. Savage behaviour from a savage man who probably has a caveman brains.
I'm going to plead the fifth on that one because, we are kind of friendly to Mr. Sportswire, and he's been on here quite a bit. So I'm going to plead the fifth with you on that. But I'm going to let you say some of those things here. And I kind of, in a way, to piggyback off that, Callum Majakester has to say, just noticed you're trying to copy the society's look with the dark eyes. Damn, having to resort to gimmick infringement. I mean, for what you said about Mr. Sportswire, the lawman Kyle Kennedy, Callum Majakester makes a point. Are you influenced by the society at all, at least in your looks and anything? Would you like to respond?
Funny, my makeup is better than anything that Callum could ever do. So I'm not trying to embolize anyone. I'm doing me. I've always done me, and I will continue doing me. I did a little skit not too long ago. When I was actually, that was something when I was trying to look like the society. And as I said on the video, it was not a slay. To look like a, oh, what was, I got told the other day that me versus Remus Kane was funky versus emo. And I'm not going for that emo look.
Yeah, the emo look is old, man. The emo look's been out for a while. I mean, the emo look to me, it's about 10 to 15 years old. But I mean, hey, I'm going to plead the fifth on some of that. But I do have to come back to the society and the lawman Kyle Kennedy because they have the numbers, right? And I think right now that they're a stronger than ever group. Even if you think about it, because you've got Mixed Knights, you've got obviously Kennedy, you've got Remus Kane, and Callum Jakester, who I think has made the group even stronger. Now, coming into this Northern Division tournament here, would you be concerned though about the numbers game and that the society would certainly like to add some gold to their resume and to their arsenal, and that could be somebody that where you would be certainly in their crosshairs? I mean, give me your thoughts on that.
To talk about the society on more of a serious note, you always have to fear the numbers game with them. There's a lot of them in that group for a reason. And if you're on your own, especially in a singles tournament, people going one-on-one, they're going to play the field to their advantage. And it's good that I've got enough friends in NSAW like Champ, Connor, Pride. I'm sure I've got loads more who really like me, and I really like them too. But there's loads of people in NSAW, and I'm only one bisexual blue boy. But in terms of the society, you always have to fear their numbers game, and they're all skilled wrestlers. They all have their specialities. Carl Kennedy's the powerhouse. Remus Kane, the sophisticated leader. I say that in brackets and quotation marks because, I mean, he puts his shirts on and slack, and maybe he's dignified. I haven't made my mind up yet. I go back and forth on this about Remus Kane every day. What is he doing? And then Callum, my jokester. Well, you are a joke, but in terms of you've got something to prove in this group. I can tell off straight away. You're the new kid on the block, and let's see if you can prove to Daddy Remus that you're good enough to be in the group, or you might get kicked out, like certain individuals who have been in society in the past.
I wouldn't even know anything about that individual, and I would even go further in saying that Callum Jakester has certainly done more than that individual could have ever done in the society so far. That's why I say the society right now is stronger than ever, and despite the pot shots, they're always in the thick of things. We certainly saw what the lawman Kyle Kennedy had did to the wild card Tommy Dillon, and certainly their skirmish and their battles. And I do want to come back here to Callum Jakester because he also says, believe it or not, I don't spend my time worrying about my makeup. I focus on preparing myself for shows and beating the ever-loving hell out of people, especially you at All Hallows Eve. And I would add that Callum Jakester, since he's joined the society, I would say he's on a huge upswing, and certainly for somebody that might be a new kid on the block, he's actually somebody that's been an old kid on the block because he's been in the ring longer than most people have in the nonstop action wrestling roster universe and roster. So there's no question that right now Callum Jakester is on the upswing. He is definitely somebody not to mess with, and Pride also says the society is a stain on NSAW and the world in general. Let me ask you a question, though, going back to the wild card Tommy Dillon, because I did want to bring up to the fact that Disciple, who is also one of our favorites here on Sportswire Radio, will be coming back here in a few weeks because he has a lot to talk about and a lot to get off his chest, as I'm sure you're aware of. And it was announced that at Nuclear Winter, we're going to see Disciple and Tommy Dillon for the NSAW World Class title and the GT Ministries World title. And it's kind of a title versus title situation. And Disciple is still a part of things here and a huge part of things in nonstop action wrestling. And I'm sure you saw the videos back and forth between the two wrestlers. And this is a match where almost like the worlds collide. It's almost basically like forces that we've never seen before, and the strength and the size and the run that both champions are on. And wanted to get your impressions from afar on Disciple and Tommy Dillon, Nuclear Winter main event, and Give me your impressions of that, because I'm sure both wrestlers will have something to say about it here on Sportswire Radio before the 17th of December.
Well, we've seen plenty of talking from these guys, but I want to see these big boys fight. I want to see them get in the ring with each other and slap the ever living hell out of each other. I think no man, either man in that match is going to leave the same, whether they hold both the championships, or none of the championships. I'm rooting for Tommy personally. I think he's the more redeemable and honourable person. Disciple, you're a big baddie. We don't like big baddies, as we've sort of figured out here in NCAW. We don't like big men who think they can just do what they want. Disciple reminds me of Chris Murphy. They have a resemblance. I don't know what it is. I don't know what
I think we spoke about that here in the past on Sportswire. I think that you probably caught one of those streams where I'd asked that question, but no, they're not related. But I would say one thing right now. Disciple, after what he did to Gareth Angel and Bentley, I wouldn't want to mess with Disciple, and what he did also in between to Pride, and also Dave Douglas of the Modern Day Mafia at the beginning of the show with GT Ministries Sold Out, which of course you can find at GT Ministries UK on their Facebook and YouTube pages. I would not want to bet against Disciple. I would not want to bet against him. Even though the wild card Tommy Dillon has been on quite a run, he's also undefeated in GT Ministries with his open challenges, and he's certainly been a huge part of things in Nonstop Action Wrestling as our standard bearer. Right now, Disciple, after what he did again to Bentley, Gareth Angel, and then everybody I mentioned in between, wouldn't want any part of him. So Tommy Dillon, either way, the clock may strike midnight. I don't know. We'll find out. But that's also why you have to buy a ticket. You have to buy a ticket to Nonstop Action Wrestling Show All Nuclear Winter. We know it's going to be a sold out. Of course, you can, if you're like me in New York, can watch it on Instagram, but also NSAW Wrestling UK for more information. Nonstop Action Wrestling on YouTube, Facebook, and for more information to buy a ticket, also to subscribe and support this great company here. But Sammy, I wanted to ask you about buying things because you have a T-shirt out there, and plug that for us on Sportswire Radio and where we can find out more information on how to buy one and anything else you might want to add to your merchandise.
Well, thank you for this most generous plug. So I have a Pro Wrestling Tees store. I think it's Pro Wrestling Tees / Supersonic Sammy Blue. And you can get a flurry of designs. And it is said, whoever designed these t-shirts, the actor for James Bond, that is his personal role model. Now, this is what I've heard. I don't know if it's confirmed, but I heard he's quite a big deal, this designer. So you better check out those shirts. And there might be a new one coming soon. If you saw me at All Hallows Eve, you'd have seen me sporting a new crop top along with my cowboy outfit. And that is a I Heart to Make Wrestlers Cry top. So hopefully that will be on Pro Wrestling Tees soon.
And we love Pro Wrestling Tees here in America because the UK wrestlers that have a Pro Wrestling Tees page, I can actually buy a shirt because for whatever reason, BigCartel.com, where like the wrestlers such as Disciple and Bentley have pages on there, for whatever reason, they don't ship to the United States. So as an American who obviously supports you guys in the UK, I can buy a shirt off the Pro Wrestling Tees page. And we've done that in the past, obviously, with Champ Rogers, of course, your very good friend, and Dan Robertson, maybe not so much your, I guess, sort of friend, sort of not friend, I guess, depending on where things may fall at the certain point. And obviously, we'll make sure to give you a support and a follow and like whatever we can do with that page as well. And Callum also says, no one asked you, Pride. Carry on. You could be the next name on the society's list, or better yet, mine. So certainly Pride is getting it in between with the society and Callum and Jakester. But going over to Blackheart Wrestling very quickly, I did want to bring up that as well because I believe we have one more show coming up before the year is out, and wanted to give you a couple of minutes to spend on Blackheart Wrestling. They always join us here. Shelby was with us, and many of the Nonstop Action Wrestling roster is a part of Blackheart Wrestling. So anything you'd like to share on behalf of Blackheart Wrestling that you'd like for our audience on Sportswire Radio to hear?
I absolutely adore Blackheart Wrestling. It is one of the most pleasant environments to be in, and as one of the only companies to include me on their shows outside of NSAW and GTM, obviously in the summer. I am ever so thankful to them to continue giving me the opportunities, to prove myself. And, I have a bit of a running theme there. Sammy's revolving door of tag team partners. First time I was in a proper tag team match there, I was with Champ Rogers, Super Best Buds, even though
I remember that. Well, I was in the summer. I remember that very well.
they're called us the Super Best Friends. So I had a bit of an identity crisis. Like, who are we? Super Best Buds, Super Best Friends, Super Best Muchachos? Who knows? I mean, I barely call myself Sammy anymore. I mean, I don't really, to be fair, I don't refer to myself in the third person. I don't know why I'm bringing that up. But let's swiftly move on to the second tag team match I had. And it was with Gung Ho! Gung Ho!
And Gung Ho we saw back in GT Ministries. He's got a new team with Maverick Matt Williams, who for a hot skip in a minute was the BTW World Champion last weekend.
Yes.
So Gung Ho is in the thick of things as usual.
He is. He's definitely an eccentric one, and he definitely really likes his theme tune. I wish him all the best. We got the win in that show on Blackheart, and then I did, like I mentioned earlier, team up with Dan Robertson of the Killjoy. And I don't know what it is about Dan Robertson. He seems all friendly around me at Blackheart, but then when we get to the Ensor locker room, it's like a changed man. I don't know what the Killjoy is telling him. But
I guess it's the two faces of Dan Robertson. It used to be like the three faces of Mick Foley. It's the two faces of Dan Robertson. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess
maybe he's just two-faced. Who knows?
Well, you know what? I'm going to plead the fifth on that because you know that he's going to be back on Sportswire Radio as well. And the last thing I need to do is to be fully taken one side over another over everybody else. Yes, we have our favorites. You are one of the favorites, but certainly I don't want to get in the middle of that because when guys keep coming back on, the last thing you want to do is go pile on somebody. So I'm going to definitely refrain from that, but certainly I appreciate that you don't like to reference yourself in the third person because there was another Sammy that used to reference themselves in the third person for a bit. And that was the former frontman of Van Halen, Sammy Hagar, who I don't think you get confused with too much. But hopefully you have the longevity that he has had in his career because he's 75 and still performing. But I have a feeling that maybe we'll get there as well. But when it comes to some different things here, we've got about a few more minutes here with Supersonic Sammy Blue, who's going to be in the ring coming up here for Nonstop Action Wrestling's Nuclear Winter. He is going to be a part of the Northern Division tournament there, which will crown the company's first champion for that. And he very well could be in the ring with Chris Murphy, as you've asked for Chris Murphy. We'll see if you guys match up there in the same bracket. But I did want to ask you, when it comes to the year, looking back, if you win this championship, I would have to imagine this year for you would be as strong a way to go out as you could ask for. So is this almost a make or break Nuclear Winter here, where let's say you win this tournament, you become the champion. It's a tremendous springboard, tremendous platform. You've talked about all the different reasons why you can go to different companies, the promotion, obviously, from your personal background, LGBTQ community. But if you come away and come up short, is this kind of a make or break moment here for Supersonic Sammy Blue in 22 going into 23? Give me your thoughts.
Quite possibly. I feel like I've had chances at championships previously. I was meant to be the triple threat at All Hallows Eve, which sadly I was not able to wrestle in because I got attacked by the society once again. Seems like a running theme in my career whenever I get.
That's why I asked you about the numbers game. I've asked you that going back to several months ago, the first time you came on. You still have to deal with that.
You know what, Tom? You have to tell me like 10 times before I get it into my head. I'm that kind of person. And luckily, this is the 10th time, and I am now listening.
All right. Fair enough.
I'm joking. I was listening before, but in terms of the society, or any other groups in non-stop action wrestling, or even outside that want to interfere in the tournament, bring it on. I like a good challenge. I've been saying for the past 55 minutes or however long I've been on here, that I want to challenge myself, because I think if I do and I make it past those hurdles, those challenges, and I get to that Northern Division Championship, I've done it the right way, which is something I said on my Instagram page that I want to do. I want to earn this opportunity and get this championship the right way. And I think it will be a great story to tell in the future. Like, look at this queer champion who earned his way to the top.
All right. All right. I mean, certainly those are some fair points here. And let me ask you a follow-up question in a way which kind of ties into closing thoughts. I mean, what do you want to say to anybody that you may face off with, or especially, let's say, your final words to Chris Murphy, who you've basically singled out, you want to be in the same bracket with, you want to face him. He's obviously been what's perceived as everybody's bully. He's arrogant. He's overconfident. So what do you want to say to anybody you may face off with, and especially Chris Murphy before the 17th of December?
I think everyone should do their homework, because I'll be doing the same. I'll be watching their matches and see how they work, see how they operate inside a squared circle. I would say don't underestimate me, because a lot of people have underestimated me. Dan Robertson has, Dante O'Cara has, other individuals in NSAW have, and I beat them. So there's that to consider. And Chris Murphy specifically, you say you're the top guy of NSAW without winning a match. You say you deserve to be at the top spot, and you shouldn't really have to work for these opportunities. Well, I'm gonna, regarding if we get into this match together, I'm gonna make you work. If we're in this ring together, in that squared circle together, 1-on-1, heading into nuclear winter, I'm gonna make you work your ass off to get into that championship match.
I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, what I've learned tonight over the past hour with Supersonic Sammy Blue. I've seen a little bit more, maybe not so much of a mature Supersonic Sammy Blue, but a more firmer, a more Supersonic Sammy Blue with convictions. He's somebody right now that has something on his mind, and that's gold right now. Gold to add to his arsenal, to his resume. There's personal motivation, but most importantly, there's motivation to go into 2023 with the momentum that he needs to be the kind of wrestler that could be the guy that could be the standard bearer for nonstop action wrestling. I've seen, like I said here tonight on Sportswire Radio, a different Supersonic Sammy Blue. Yes, we've seen the fun-loving, yes, the blue, the goofballness, bisexual goofball. We know all that. We've gotten to know him over the past several months. But what I've seen tonight is Supersonic Sammy Blue is a man on a mission. He has something that's clearly in his sights, and that is that Northern Division Championship. And we've heard from other wrestlers that have put their sights on it, but tonight I've learned that Supersonic Sammy Blue, you have to take him seriously if you didn't already. Because listen, Dante O'Cara learned that the hard way. Cerebral Stee and J-Ro Lewis learned that the hard way this past summer. Connor Cage, the lawman Kyle Kennedy. It's a long list of people that have found out Supersonic Sammy Blue is definitely a contender, and he is definitely somebody I would not count out by a long shot. And Chris Murphy, is he overconfident? Is he arrogant? Or is he knowing what he's doing and he's backed it up because of his past resume? We're going to find out. But I'll tell you what, I would love to see that match, if it possibly happens, in the Northern Division Championship tournament. But I know one thing, Chris Murphy is going to be a very, very busy man that night on the 17th of December. He is going to be a very, very busy man. We'll see if it'll catch up to him. But Sammy, I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything that you want to plug, anything you want to say, anything that we've missed out. I turn it over to you, my friend, and always a pleasure. Always enjoy speaking with you. I have a very good feeling we're going to be speaking with you very, very soon. So let's give you the floor and anything else you want to say and fire away.
Well, as we head towards this Christmas season, there is one thing that I've put on my list for Santa, and that is the Northern Division Championship. And when I wake up on the 25th of December, wearing my new pajamas and wearing all sorts of crazy fairy slippers, I'll tiptoe downstairs and I'll see good old Sylvie, that Northern Division Championship under my tree. Because Chris Murphy, good things come to good people, and you're on my naughty list this year. And so have a lot of the rest of the non-stop action wrestling roster. But I've got my eyes firm, not only on that championship, but on you, Chris. Now, you can roast me like you roast your hair, that ginger colour, and you can talk about peace and spell it incorrectly, and you can say that you deserve a top spot in this company without winning one single match. But when it comes to this Northern Division Championship tournament, my aim to humble you and show you that it's going to be a merry, merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho. Is Santa coming down the chimney with some presents for Supersonic Sammy Blue? And that present, could it include the Northern Division Championship? I don't know. But I know one thing. Chris Murphy, number 2 entrant in the Winter Rumble, also being a part of the Northern Division tournament, he's going to be a very, very busy man. Is it going to catch up to him? I don't know. But I know one thing. Supersonic Sammy Blue has gold set on his sights. Will he make it happen? It's a possibility. There is certainly a stacked roster in nonstop action wrestling, and many of them could claim that they want the Northern Division Championship. But we're going to find out here. December the 17th at the Be Strong Performance Center there in Switten. We know that All Hallows Eve was sold out. We have a very strong feeling that Nuclear Winter will be sold out. You can find out more information on NSOR Wrestling UK on Instagram, also Facebook, Nonstop Action Wrestling, Nonstop Action Wrestling Universe on Facebook as well, YouTube, Nonstop Action Wrestling, also Kyle Kennedy's page where you can watch the Asylum Lockdown match between Supersonic Sammy Blue and the Lawman Kyle Kennedy. Also Twitter as well. You can follow more from Nonstop Action Wrestling. And, of course, Supersonic Sammy Blue on Facebook and Instagram. Please make sure you support Supersonic Sammy Blue. We always like to support those that support us on Sportswire Radio. And Supersonic Sammy Blue has always been one of our friends. So, Sammy, we definitely wish you well. We definitely hope to get you on one more time before the year is out to speak about, if you're able to get the gold, maybe some Blackheart Wrestling thoughts or two and more. Maybe Dan Robertson, Connor Cage, we see you in the ring with Callum Jakester, Society. Who knows what else? Chris Murphy especially. But good luck out there. And certainly we're looking forward to seeing if this is the holiday season that you want. And we look forward to speaking with you soon. And congratulations on the year so far. And we'll see if you can continue that going into 23, my friend.
Thank you very much. I hope I have a prosperous 2023, and I hope you too do, Tom.
I appreciate that. I'm glad that somebody wants me to have a prosperous 23, because I know that my bank account, my mutual fund account, was not as prosperous. But hey, I think most people in the world probably lost money in the stock market or their mutual fund or something else. But thankfully, we're financially in okay hands. But we'll see what happens in 23. But for you, my friend, we'll certainly keep our fingers crossed, and can't wait to speak with you soon, maybe one more time before 23, and go get him. And also support Supersonic Sammy Blue so he can be a little more prosperous on his Pro Wrestling Tees page, Pro Wrestling Tees _ Supersonic Sammy Blue. Yes, give him those pounds, and we'll speak with you soon, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me on, Tom. I'd love to come on again.
We'll definitely make that happen. If you're on sportnarium.com/player, you'll in about 20 or so minutes hear some more UK wrestling talk because we'll have on Glenn Abbott from the Piece of Business show where he'll do a mix of, I think, NXT and also World Cup previewing. So certainly we'll get a little bit of mix of both. But thank you to Glenn for that as well. He shared our show on Twitter as well. And if you're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, we'll be back Thursday night, Friday morning, UK time. We'll be with the Wrestling Championship Entertainment crew of the new Messiah, Nicholas Crenson, and also the resident rock star, Sean Jovi, and also Dark Fire. And also, I'll be back Friday evening UK time with knockout wrestling coverage with the natural born fighter, RP Davis, who's going to be 24 hours before that. He's going to be in a knockout or tap out match with the Ronin, Brian Aidenson. So that is going to be a match that I think a lot of people are going to want to be hearing more about, and I'm sure that everybody here will be tuned in as well. Brian Aidenson, of course, you see him in Future Shock Pro Wrestling and KOW, Wrestle Island, and RPD has been one of our favorites for a long time on Sportswire Radio, and he's been with us, I think, more than anybody else in a show history. So I'm looking forward to being with the natural born fighter, RP Davis. It'll be RPD Fighter, RP Davis on Instagram and Facebook as well. So make sure you support him and tune in. It'll be about 8 o'clock, I believe, British Standard Time here. Also, Knockout W on Facebook, KO_wrestling, K_O_wrestling on Twitter and Instagram. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in here on the number one global radio station. I am the host of Sports Report, the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. Also, NSTAR Wrestling UK on Instagram, also Facebook as well, Nonstop Action Wrestling for more coverage. So thank you, Supersonic Sammy Blue. And we'll be back here again Thursday night, Friday night, UK time and American time here on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio.